Today is Sunday, August 27th, 2023, and this is the Dunkley Report. A publicist says the enduring and dapper game show host Bob Barker has died at his home in Los Angeles. Barker was 99 and was a household name for more than a half-century as host of Truth or Consequences and The Price is Right. Barker retired in June 2007, thanking his studio audience for inviting me into your home for more than 50 years. He started that marathon run in 1956 on Truth or Consequences, where he remained for 18 years. He began hosting a revived version of The Price is Right on CBS in 1972. It would become TV's longest-running game show. He was also an animal rights activist. Thousands have gathered at the Lincoln Memorial in the nation's capital to commemorate the 60th anniversary of the Reverend Martin Luther King Jr.'s "I Have a Dream" speech. The March on Washington was convened Saturday by the Reverend Al Sharpton's National Action Network and members of the King family. The event is meant to be a rededication to the push for civil rights in the face of a backlash. The original march in 1963 drew as many as 500,000 people, and helped pave the way for the passage of federal civil rights and voting rights legislation in the next few years. In the first moments of the Maui fires, when high winds brought down power poles, slapping electrified wires to the dry grass below, there was a reason the flames erupted all at once in long, neat rows. Those wires were bare, uninsulated metal that could spark on contact. Videos and images analyzed by the Associated Press confirmed those wires were among miles of line that Hawaiian Electric Company left naked to the weather and often thick foliage, despite a recent push by utilities in other wildfire and hurricane-prone areas to cover up their lines or bury them. Many power poles on Maui were built to an obsolete 1960s standard, were leaning and near the end of their projected life. FIFA has suspended Spanish Soccer Federation President Luis Rubiales from office, while its disciplinary committee investigates his conduct at the Women's World Cup final. That included kissing player Jenny Hermoso on the lips after Spain's victory over England. FIFA says Rubiales is removed from soccer duties for at least 90 days, pending the disciplinary proceedings opened against him. Thursday, Rubiales refused to resign from his soccer presidency. Friday, at an emergency meeting, despite pressure from the Spanish government, women players, and soccer clubs. Hermoso has said the kiss was not consensual and that she felt intimidated. 4 astronauts from 4 countries are rocketing toward the International Space Station. It is NASA's most multinational crew yet, representing the U.S., Denmark, Japan, and Russia. SpaceX launched the astronauts before dawn Saturday from Florida's Kennedy Space Center. They should reach the orbiting lab Sunday for a half-year stay, replacing 4 astronauts living up there since March. Commanding the SpaceX Dragon capsule is NASA's Jasmine Mogbeli, a Marine pilot making her first space flight. Her crewmates include a Japanese surgeon and Danish and Russian engineers. Another NASA astronaut will launch to the station next month on a Russian rocket. The Wagner Group's presence extends from Syria to Africa, projecting the Kremlin's global influence with mercenaries accused of using brutal force. But that was under Yevgeny Prigozhin. In what may have been his final recruitment video, Prigozhin boasted that Wagner is making Russia even greater on all continents and Africa even more free. A private jet carrying Prigozhin and his top lieutenants crashed northwest of Moscow on Wednesday, 2 months after he led a rebellion that weakened the authority of Russian President Vladimir Putin. The crash has raised questions about the Wagner Group's future. Officials and commentators in African countries where Russian mercenaries had a presence predicted Moscow would likely place them under new leadership. Vivek Ramaswamy has charged back into Iowa after his attention-grabbing performance in the first Republican presidential debate. The charismatic 38-year-old businessman was met Friday by hundreds of GOP activists at breakfast and midday events in small central cities near Des Moines. He has more events planned in the coming days. Iowa Republicans are expressing both curiosity and skepticism about Ramaswamy. Some say they like that he is young and energetic. Others question his position that the U.S. should stop providing arms and funding to Ukraine in its fight against Russia's invasion. The National Park Service has proposed removing wild horses from Theodore Roosevelt National Park in western North Dakota as the park looks to revise its livestock plans. Wild horse advocates and government officials, including Governor Doug Burgum and U.S. Senator John Hoeven, are opposed to removal of the horses, which are a major attraction. The park is undergoing an environmental review related to its proposals. About 200 horses roam the park's south unit near the tourist town of Medora. Also affected are about 9 longhorn cattle that roam a northern unit of the park. Many people who have evacuated communities in Canada's Northwest Territories because of raging wildfires have had to leave their beloved pets behind. But a group of people, including a veterinarian in territorial capital of Yellowknife, have been working to find these animals, reunite them with their owners, or keep tabs on them until the evacuation is lifted. In some cases, owners have left out food and water for pets left behind, thinking they'd be back home in a day or two. But with evacuations lasting a week or longer, they've had to turn to volunteers for help. Mystery hunters have converged on a Scottish lake to look for signs of the mythical Loch Ness Monster. Researchers will seek evidence of Nessie using thermal imaging drones, infrared cameras, and a hydrophone to detect underwater sounds. The 2-day event is being billed as the biggest survey of the lake for 50 years. It includes people from around the world watching remotely on webcams. Alan McKenna of the Loch Ness Center says the aim is to inspire a new generation of Loch Ness enthusiasts. Numerous theories have been put forward to explain monster sightings, including a prehistoric marine reptile, giant eels, or an escaped circus elephant. Many believe the sightings are hoaxes or can be explained by floating logs or strong winds. Today's news was reported by the Associated Press. This has been the World News for Sunday, August 27th, 2023. Thanks again for joining us at The Dunkley Report.